Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to talk about the unit circle today. Hopefully, this is a pretty easy lesson for you. Mostly, it's can you read the unit circle? But I'm also going to go over how to make one and then kind of how to some ways to think about it to help you memorize it faster. You're going to want to memorize this thing called the unit circle just because having it memorized is faster than not having it memorized, I guess. And if you have it memorized, it's gonna, you know what I mean? It's like the same reason you memorize multiplication, because it's faster to just multiply 5 times 6 in your head than have to type it out every time, right? So hopefully you're gonna do something in your life that takes enough trig that you actually like have a reason to have these memorized. But you know, I'm not your mom. I can't make you memorize stuff. But you're gonna have probably more than normal, a larger than normal amount of homework questions because they're fast. So you know, all right. So let's talk about what the unit circle even is, and then how it relates to sine and cosine. Then we'll throw in tangent and whatnot. But so a unit circle, the word unit in math typically means one. So the one circle, what could we possibly make one about a circle? Well, a unit circle is when the radius is equal to 1. So from the center of our circle to anywhere on the edge, the length of this line is 1. Okay, cool. So because of the way this thing is going to work, it's helpful to know the values of the ordered pair on the edge of the circle. So if we put the circle at the origin, the center at the origin, and then we make it a radius 1, this spot would be at 1, 0 on the x-axis, or on this graph. So what we want to do is we want to find the ordered pairs of points along the circle at some pretty common angles. And then we'll see how that relates. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's look at maybe 30. Okay? So let me grab my protractor. Protractor, tight. Move this thing. All right, so 30 is about right there. How do I mark that? Like this. Okay, that's 30. Okay, so there's 30. So we know theta. That's not the button I wanted. And let's get rid of this protractor for right now. Delete. Okay. So if we want to know the ordered pair right there when theta equals 30 degrees, we're going to draw our angle. Okay. Now we can use some trig to find the ordered pair here. And the way we're going to do that is with sine and cosine. So we know theta is 30, and we know our hypotenuse is 1. So let's set up a trig ratio. And you're going to say, wait, trig is for triangles, right? We don't have a triangle. We have an angle and a line. But we can turn this into a triangle by doing this. Okay. So now we have a height and another leg for our triangle. So this side would be the opposite side. This side would be the adjacent side. Cool. All right, so now let's find the ordered pair here. Or rather, let's find the two side lengths, all right? So we have sine of 30 degrees. Okay. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite we don't know. The hypotenuse is 1 though. Okay. Normally to solve for x, we'd have to multiply by the denominator to get rid of it. But dividing by 1 doesn't do anything. So sine of 30 degrees equals x. I messed up. Let's back up. Let's maybe not make it x. Let's make it y. Okay. So sine of 30 degrees equals y. Okay. Why would I make this y instead of x? If we look at our opposite side, this is how far up we are from the x-axis. So this is our y value, right? I want to know how far up this point is. So this is going to be y, and this is going to be x. Okay. So sine of 30, if you type this into a calculator, it'll spit out 1/2. So y equals 1/2. So right here, the ordered pair is something 1/2. Now to get the x value, because this is a right triangle, we can use Pythagorean's theorem. So we're going to have x squared plus y squared equals our hypotenuse squared. Let's just call it c squared. Okay. So x we don't know. Let's leave that as a variable. X squared plus y we know is 1/2. So this is going to be 1/2 squared equals our hypotenuse is 1. So this is 1 squared. Wonderful. So now let's simplify this. X squared plus 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. Because you do 1/2 times 1/2. You multiply straight across for fractions. So 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. Equals 1 squared is 1. Now we subtract the 1/2, or the 1/4. These cancel. X squared equals 3/4. And we take a square root of both sides to get x. So we can't take the square root of 3. So the top will stay square root of 3. Square root of 4 on the bottom is 2. Okay. So we have found the ordered pair at 30 degrees. Okay. So now that we see kind of how we can solve for the x and y of some of these points around the thing, let's notice some patterns and then we'll go look at the fully solved thing. I'm not going to make you solve for all like 50 of these. I'm not masochistic. I'm not a rude math teacher, I hope. So, a couple things we should notice. If we say theta is the angle by the origin, the opposite sign is this. This is the y value, which we can see is equal to sine. So you want to associate whatever this height is with sine. What I mean by that is when you are looking for ordered pairs on the circle, wait. Give me some more room. Okay. Write this down. This is important. The ordered pair at theta is sine tells us y. Sine of theta. And we could do the same thing to solve for this side. We just picked to solve for this side first. If we set up the adjacent side, that'll be cosine. It'll be cosine of theta equals adjacent, which is x, over our hypotenuse and 1, which is 1. So you can see that cosine equals x. Okay. The reason that cosine equals x and sine of theta equals y is because it is a unit circle. Because our hypotenuse is 1, the hypotenuse part kind of cancels because dividing by 1 doesn't do anything. So you want to remember for the rest of your life, x goes with cosine, y goes with sine. A lot of people find this reversed because when you tell people about these things, you say sine and cosine. And then when you talk about ordered pairs and stuff, you say x and y. I think of these about being reversed because you say them in the wrong orders, typically. But I might just be a little weird. Okay, so the important part is here. X is cosine, y is sine. All right. Here is a complete unit circle. I will probably post this thing just as a picture in the notes or something for you to have. But you should probably copy this thing down. You want this available whenever you're taking tests and quizzes, because I kind of expect you to memorize this or have it readily available whenever you're trying to look at it. Okay. So we know that cosine of theta equals the y, or it tells us how high this is. And sine of theta tells us the x, or it tells us how far in the x direction you have to go to get to this ordered pair. Okay, let's take a look at some patterns here. Notice that the middle ones, the 45 degrees, so 45, go 45 past 90, go 45 past 180, go 45 past 270. All of them are made of only radical 2 over 2's. And depending on the quadrant you're in, the signs match the signs of the axes. So in the first quadrant up here, you are on the positive side of the x-axis and the positive side of the y-axis. So x and y are both positive. If you go to the second quadrant, quadrant 2, you'll notice that the x is negative radical 2 over 2, and the y is positive because you have gone left, which is negative x, and up, which is positive y. Okay. So the signs for sine and cosine should match the signs of x and y in their quadrants. That will help you memorize which ones are positive, which ones are negative. Here, whoops, come on. X is negative, y is positive. Here, x is positive, y is positive. Here, both are negative. And then down here, x is positive, y is negative. Okay, good. Another thing you should notice is if you go, sorry, I'm trying to find my dashed lines here. Okay, let me make the x red and the y blue. Okay, let's change these two dashed lines. Dashed. Okay, so if we look at 30 degrees, 30 degrees is pretty shallow. It's not quite to the middle yet of 45 degrees. So we have gone really far sideways and not as far up. All of your non-middle ones are going to be made of a 1/2 and a radical 3 over 2. This is the bigger number. This is smaller. Right, we're both dividing by 2, but radical 3 is like 1.7 something, and 1 is just 1. So this number is bigger, so it divided by 2 is bigger than 1 divided by 2. So whichever direction you go farther in should always be the radical 3 over 2, and the smaller one should always be 1/2. So for 30 degrees, we go really far out and not as far up, right? We've turned around the edge only 30 degrees. So we're mostly horizontal and not quite very much vertical. So that means our x should be the bigger value, which is radical 3 over 2. And then our y should be 1/2. Okay. One way to help you memorize these is they go by 30s. So 30, 60, 90, plus 30 is 120, 150, 180. And you have all the 45s in the middle. So 45, 90 plus 45 is 135, and so on. You're also going to notice that these have the same y value. They're both at positive radical 3 over 2. All of these horizontal ones should have matching y's. Right? Same thing with the bottom ones. These have matching y values. These have matching y values, and these have matching y values. If we go vertically, these are the same distance over. This is positive radical 3 over 2. This is positive radical 3 over 2. So if you look vertically, their x's should match. Okay. These are just some patterns that you're going to notice. This will help you memorize them. So let's go look at a couple of examples. All right. So here they're going to give you an angle and they're going to ask you to find the ordered pair. So let me go ahead and give you a couple of examples and help you kind of find ways to remember these. So we want to find the ordered pair. That means we want to find sine of theta because that equals y. And we want to find cosine of theta because that equals x. Okay, so if we look at 135 degrees, this is 90 degrees plus 45 degrees. So that's going to be the middle one past 90. So here's 90. We're going to go to the middle one past it. Okay, so this is 135 degrees. Because it's one of the middle ones, we know it is going to be a radical 2 over 2 and a radical 2 over 2. And then because we are in quadrant 2, we have gone left, which means x is negative. So our cosine is going to be negative radical 2 over 2. Okay. So our ordered pair is negative radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2. Okay. If we look at 7 pi over 6, we want to split this up into whole pies and figure out how much farther we go. So 7 pi over 6, 6 goes into 7 one time with one extra 6 left over. So it might be helpful to think about it as 1 and 1/6. 1 pi is 180 degrees. So we need to go a sixth of pi past that. 1/6 of pi, or pi over 6, is equal to 30 degrees. So we're going to go to the first increment of 30 past 180. We're going to go to that first line. Okay. Now we want to find our ordered pair here. So this one is still closer to being horizontal. That means our x is going to be bigger, should technically put absolute values, than our y. So it's going to have a radical 3 over 2 and a 1/2. X has to be bigger because we're closer to being horizontal. So cosine of theta is going to have the radical 3 over 2. And then sine of theta is going to have the 1/2. Because we are in quadrant 3, both of these are negative. We've gone left, which is negative on the x, and down, which is negative on the y. So both of them are negative, and our ordered pair is... I'm sorry, I have these switched. You guys, it's kind of late. I've been working too hard, you guys. Sorry, I have these backwards. We've gone farther horizontally, so x should be bigger. So this is negative radical 3 over 2, negative 1/2. Okay, so negative radical 3 over 2, negative 1/2. Okay. If theta equals negative 330, we know that 360 would be a full spin. This is 30 less than that. So we would back up to the first line. Okay. However, this is negative. So instead of going counterclockwise, we need to do this by going clockwise. Okay. So start here, go clockwise, full spin would be 360. Back it up 30 because we're not quite there. So we are looking at this ordered pair right here at negative 330 degrees. Because we are in quadrant 1 for the terminal side, this side is in quadrant 1. We know both of them are going to be positive. Cosine equals y. Sine of theta equals x. So we're really just looking at 30 degrees. Here, because we are closer to being horizontal than we are vertical, that means x is bigger. So x is going to get the radical 3 over 2. The y is going to get the 1/2. And because we're in quadrant 1, we've gone positive x and positive y. So this is going to be radical 3 over 2, 1/2, both positive. Okay, last one. If we look at 3 pi over 2. Again, split this up into a mixed number to make it easier to think about. So 2 goes into 3 one time with 1 left over. So this is 1.5 pi. So 1 pi would be 180 degrees. Half a pi is 90, so we need to go another 90. So we are looking at this angle right here. This one's not too bad. You've gone straight down, and you haven't gone left or right. This is perfectly down, no horizontal. You're still on this y-axis. So that means our y is going to be -1, and x is going to be 0. There we go. Cool. And then if I ask you, like, what's cosine of this theta? We know cosine of theta goes with y, and sine of theta goes with x. Okay. All right, so let's find theta if they give us a couple of the coordinates. Let me copy this blank unit circle. Let's unlock that real quick. Copy. Okay. Let's put that over here so I have something to draw on. Okay. So if we want sine of t to equal 1/2, first we need to think, is sine x or y? Sine is y. No, it's not. It's x. I lied. No, you're right. It's y. I was right the first time. Okay, sine is y. So we need to go 1/2 y. 1/2 is the smaller one. So that means our triangle is going to be really close to the... My dog's barking at me. To being horizontal. So either the 0 or the 180. Okay. If we want y to be 1/2, this is positive 1/2. And then the other positive 1/2 is right there. These are both up 1/2. Okay. So our two options for theta are either this angle or this angle. Now we need to look at the second condition to figure out which one of these two we're looking at. Either positive radical 3 over 2 or negative radical 3 over 2. It says cosine of t, which is x, is greater than 0. If you are greater than 0, here's 0, here's a number line, greater than is that direction, you're on the positive side. So we want the positive x value. So we're looking at this angle right here. Because it's the first increment, this is 30 degrees. Okay. Cool. Oops, that's not what I want. All right, 30 degrees for that one. All right, now we have cosine of t equals negative radical 3 over 2. So remember, cosine is x, and this is the longer value. So we're going to go really far in the x direction, negative. So we're either looking at this angle here, which is at negative radical 3 over 2, 1/2, or we're looking at this other one that's more x than y at negative radical 3 over 2, negative 1/2. Now it says sine of t is less than 0. This is y. If we're thinking about less than 0, less than is left, this would be negative. So we want the negative value right here. So we're looking at this angle. Half a spin would be 180. We've gone to the first line past it, so this would be plus another 30. So 180 plus 30, this would be 210 degrees. Wonderful. Okay. Let's clear this. All right, 2 more and then we're done. So sine of t equals radical 2 over 2. Sine, again, is your y value. So this means y is radical 2 over 2. Radical 2 over 2 is always going to be one of the middle ones. So it's either going to be this middle one where y is positive because we went up, or this middle one where y is positive because we went up. So we're either at radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2, or negative radical 2 over 2, radical 2 over 2. Okay. We want the one in quadrant 1. So we are looking at this one. The middle one is a 45, so this is 45 degrees. Okay, last one. Here they tell us tangent of t equals radical 3. This is kind of a sneaky one that I snuck in here. You see how that works? Sneaky and got snuck. We need to remember that tangent equals sine over cosine. Okay, this is a trig identity. We're going to go over a lot of these later. You need to memorize this. You're going to hear me say that a lot. You have to memorize a bunch of stuff for trig. So for this, we know sine over cosine. That means tangent equals y over x, because sine is y, cosine is x. So when we reduce our fraction, we got radical 3. So we want to look at this. Is it either radical 3 over 2 over 1/2 or vice versa? If we reduce this fraction, because these are the only possibilities for x and y, right? All these ordered pairs are made of radical 3 over 2s and 1/2. So because we have a radical 3 over 2, it's got to be either this one or this one. Or rather, if we're in quadrant 3, oops, it's going to be this one or this one. Okay, so radical 3 over 2 divided by 1/2, we flip and multiply, so times 2 over 1, so the 2's cancel. So we're looking at y is radical 3 over 2, so y is the longer value. That means we're close to being vertical, so we're looking at this one right here. Okay. So it goes 30 past, 45 past, 60 past. So we're 60 past 180. This is 240 degrees. Okay. So basically what your homework is going to be is just you finding different values on this unit circle. I'll give you some information. I'll either give you the angle and then ask you for the ordered pairs, or maybe just x or y or sine or cosine like we did over here. Or I might give you a sine or a cosine or an x and a y and ask you for theta. So we'll mix it up. I'm going to just give you different information from this unit circle, and you're going to have to find the rest of the information at that point. So I feel like this probably wasn't the clearest lesson in the world. It's a lot of me going, oh, and then this means this, and then numbers, numbers, numbers. So it takes some practice. Make sure you have this thing somewhere you can see it. And remember, cosine of theta equals x, sine of theta equals y, tangent of theta equals sine of theta over cosine of theta equals y over x. You need to have this thing memorized and these things memorized. And if I give you some of the information, you should be able to fill out the rest of it. That's basically what you're trying to do today. Okay. If you need help, let me know. Good luck, you guys.